Hello and welcome everyone. This is Phoenix with your Midnight Overwatch for the weekend of August 31st, Saturday, August 31st to be exact, 2024. All the health facts you need to know for the Patriot on the go. And of course, I am joined as usual by Bob Patrick of Boomers Forever Young. And as you can see from the title, less pain, more gain. You usually don't hear that. We usually hear people saying no pain, no gain. Well, Bob's going to explain to us exactly what that means about less pain and more gain in today's Patriot Health Report. So, getting right into that, let's go to our expert on all these things, Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. Bob, how are you, and how are things going on down at the headquarters of Boomers?
Everything is fine down here, Phoenix. I'm doing well. It's the fall is just about here. Here we are, the last days of August, and the weather's already started to cool off a little bit for us. I know there's a heat wave going across the country, so if anybody needs to cool off that's up in the Northeast or Texas, you might want to come down to Florida. It's getting nice and cool down here, down in the low 90s.
The low 90s, dude. You kill me every time you talk about that. I'm like, oh god, I'd swelter. It's been very unusual up here in the Northeast, Bob, where you fled from many years ago, and it was actually last week was very autumn-like and cool, but we did have a very hot summer, and it was very unusual because with the cool weather we had August, and you know what I'm talking about when I say this. Usually in the Northeast, in August, the lawns are brown. Things are very hot. It's hot in August. You don't have to mow. But this August, things were green and lush. I mean, everything was growing really well because it was a little bit rainy and much cooler. But now that heat has returned, and I think we're going to see some more of that. So, yeah, very interesting. Hey, I didn't mention this, but before we get rolling here in our topic for this weekend, any news or anything going on down at Boomers?
Yeah, so we were waiting for about 4.5 months for the delivery of our next order of MyoTrol, the revolutionary new product, and it arrived last Friday. So we sent out emails to everybody to let them know. So some people that are listening may have already gotten their email, may have already gotten their MyoTrol. But if you haven't checked your email for a while or you didn't open up ours, that's why we sent you the email to let you know that MyoTrol is now back in stock. When we first got MyoTrol, Phoenix, we got, a little less than 1,000 jars, and it sold out in about 14 hours. And this time we got a lot more. Wow. And so we have enough for everybody, and anybody that was on the waiting list has been contacted via email. If you're listening and you were on the waiting list and you still think you're waiting, you're not anymore, you can go right online and place your order or give us a call and we'll help you place your order. And man, I'll tell you some of the testimonials that we've been getting recently. Phoenix is just amazing. With one man I spoke to about 4 days ago, who's 82 years old, has been taking the MyoTrol for a little over a month, and he was saying that he had commissioned a contractor to come in and help do some renovations to his house, because at 82, he'd been retired for a while, and kind of his day consisted of a walk 2 or 3 times a week and mostly sitting on the couch watching YouTube videos and the like. And this contractor came and tore up the house, did the demolition on every place where he needed to, and then stopped coming. And so this man now is sitting in a house that's half demolished, waiting for renovations.
Oh my God.
And he said to himself, well, I've been taking MyoTrol, and Bob's been telling me how strong I'm going to get. So I guess it's time to get up and put it to the test and finish this job on my own. So that's what he's been doing. He's just about done. He said he had so much energy and strength, he couldn't believe it. He was working along like when he was much younger and was actually a contractor renovating houses. And then he texted me twice since then. He sent me a text saying that next day after I had talked to him, he went for a walk with his friends, and he just kept on going and going. He ended up walking 10,000 steps, walking across this bridge and back that goes across the Sarasota Bay. It's a very high bridge. It's a steep walk, going and coming back, and a really long bridge. And he was able to walk all the way and back. And then he sent me another text today that he's been off at Home Depot 3 different times now. The last time he bought a new toilet to put in to his house, and he was able to load it himself and offload it off of out of the back of his car by himself and take it inside for the installation.
Oh, very cool.
Those things are not light. So this just happened like over the course of the last 5 days. I got all this information from him.
Very cool.
He's not the only one. We've heard about this now from 3 different women who are in their 80s. And the last one wrote out this testimonial that was really strong with all these capitals and talking about how strong she feels and how grateful she is. And there was another lady who's was a farmer who had stopped doing certain types of work around the farm, and now with her MyoTrol, she's back doing all the things she used to that required a lot of strength to do around a farm. And she was extremely surprised to find that after years of decline, that quickly she could be all the way back to where she was decades earlier.
That's amazing. Very, very cool.
Yep.
I had been telling my listeners on PIR Intel Report. People have been asking. I got a question from one of our listeners, and they wanted to know if there were any updates on MyoTrol. And I told her that it was in stock. Told everybody it was in stock because I did get the email because I'm signed up for them. And if you sign up for them, everybody, it's like the electronic newsletter you can get. Anyway, so I was aware of that, and told everyone, that the effects I'm having with the MyoTrol are very good. I've increased my reps. I've increased weight on my weight training and feeling good. Overall energy level is really good. Been doing a lot. I'll get at things and just zip right through it, So I am feeling the effect of it also. I've been taping myself and seeing what kind of gains I get in my biceps. Where I tape is my my chest, my biceps, and my neck to see what's going on there. So as soon as I get some noticeable gains, I have a couple of targets set. I'll let you know. I'm going for 17-inch biceps because I used to usually have like 16 and a half. When I was working out, a lot, I'd have like 17-inch. But, man, I'm down like 16 and 16. Let's see, what am I at right now? Let me look at my chart here. Hold on. I have it written down. I am actually right now at like 14 3/4 on my biceps. I kid you not. And so I really need to increase my biceps. And so I'll let you know. I'll let you know my progress as it's going. But I can feel it. I can feel it, and I can see it already. Like I said, increasing my reps and on all categories. And my runs are much better and stronger too. Very, very good runs. So that with the combination with the boomers and the barley and everything else. But yeah, so I also told everyone to experiment with it. You had told everyone take it before you do the workout. Well, in the morning is when I work out, and I take my MyoTrol in the morning. Used to with my coffee, and I wasn't really getting that much of an effect from it, good or bad. It was like, I really couldn't tell. In the beginning, I felt like I was, but I wasn't sure if that was anticipation and placebo effect. But then, just through careful watching, realized like, wow, not a lot's happening. And then I came to the conclusion that the possibility is that I was taking it with my morning coffee before I worked out, and have a couple cups of coffee before I do my exercises, and kind of like do meditation, prayer, etc. And I came to the conclusion, Bob, that I was flushing my MyoTrol out. I was diluting it in the coffee, and basically my body was flushing it out, and I wasn't really getting the full effect. So what I started to do, and I'm not recommending this to anybody because we're all different, and maybe you can address different people and the different ways to do this, but I take two MyoTrol at night before I go to bed. And I take them maybe like an hour before I go to bed, and I sleep right through. Doesn't bother me, no headaches. I sleep sound. I wake up refreshed. And since I started doing it like that, I wake up in the morning and my body is actually assimilated and taken in the MyoTrol. Uninterrupted, because I take it on an empty stomach also. And so I take it on an empty stomach before I go to sleep. And so then I have like 7.5 hours for it to be totally absorbed in my body. And then I get up. And I really feel the difference now since I started that. Now, again, this is different for everybody, and I'll let you, the expert on all this, talk about that. But for me personally, that is my testimony on it and how it works for me and how I discovered it wasn't working for me. And I didn't just say, oh, the heck with this is no good, because I knew there were too many good reports, and Bob and I have been talking about a long time on what's going on here. And so I actually, through deduction, realized that was the problem I personally was having, but it's different for everyone. So anyway, that's my testimony.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I've been using it on longer than most people because I got to use it for about 2 months before it was actually put into a pill form. I was part of the beta test, so I got to have a dropper bottle and put a half a dropper in my mouth. And so I've been using it now for right around 6 months. And I had thought that I would come to a plateau where I would kind of gain strength to a certain level and then stop. But during the past, I would say 8 or 9 days, I was focusing on the sit-up chair that has the weights attached to it. And I had been building up, to 100 pounds, 115, 130, like that. And I had gotten up to 160 pounds. And I just kept it on that weight because it was a little hard when I started. And I built up over the course of a number of weeks to where I could do 25 repetitions twice. And then I moved it up another notch, which had to be a 15-pound notch. And that was a lot harder. I could only do 7. And then after a rest, I could do 5 more at 175. Then I rested for 2 days and I went back to do it again, and with not much expectation other than, let's see if I can do, more than 7 this time. Turned out I had to stop after the first couple because it felt much easier than the time before, and I thought I had the pin in the wrong place. And I was like, no, that really is on 175. So I went and did it, and I was able to do 16. And then I went, did some other exercises, came back, and I was able to do 16 more. So I'm going to continue on that 175 till I can do 25. It may, for all I know, might be this afternoon. And then I'm going to move it to the 190 stack and just keep going until the stack only goes to 230 pounds. So my goal is to get to where I can do the whole stack 25 times and a couple of different sets. And so the muscle gains are continuing for me even after 6 months.
Well, that's very good. Yeah, my routine is basically 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, I run um, anywhere from 3 to 5 miles, depending on how I feel and what's going on. And then on after my run on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, that's when I lift. And so I lift 3 days a week, and I do entire body. I don't alternate upper body or legs. So whole body Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then on Saturday and Sunday, I don't do anything. Man, I rest, recover, and actually on Saturday I don't eat. I fast for the day. Only take in liquids. And then Sunday, maybe as fast as long as I can, then have something because I will need my energy for the next day when I start working out again. But I basically let my body rest from any supplements. But I do take the MyoTrol and in the evening, even on the weekends, because I think you had recommended that to me also to continue the uptake of that even if you weren't working out. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because just walking around and just any movement at all is going to be benefited by the MyoTrol and will build your body up. And the biggest thing that people think about when they hear the stories like this, Phoenix, is, well, how does this work? What is it, and how does it work? And so what it is it's plant extracts that have been concentrated, certain molecules from certain plants that have been extracted and concentrated and then purified, which is a process used in the pharmaceutical industry for purification, which concentrates it because it removes any possible toxins that might still be in the in with the extraction. And so not once it's purified by weight, it's much more active ingredient. And then they also change the solubility of it to make it much more absorbable. And then this is then put into a suspension. These active ingredients are put into a suspension of MCT oil. And that's what comes in these gel caps. So the way that it works is the scientists that invented it figured out over the course of 6 years which molecule in which plant would activate specific genes in the human genome. And so what we mean by that is that your gene, your DNA, is this, double helix, and it has genes that are opposite each other. And the whole thing is wrapped up in like a protein sheath. And that sheath has to get pinged by certain types of compounds in order to splay it open so the code underneath can be copied by your RNA. So the DNA holds the code and it's just sitting there. The RNA makes a copy of it and comes out into the cell and then uses that code to create an assembly line in making different proteins. And people have codes in their DNA for making proteins that make up your muscle. And it's different proteins for different types of muscle. And as you age, that sheath that is kind of guarding your DNA gets unwrapped less and less frequently. And this is why, as you age, you lose muscle. So what his name is Eric Kurtz, what Eric was researching using computer systems and his 40 years of experience in this field, and also reading all the research of his colleagues that were working on major components of this puzzle, and he was waiting for them to come out with their research on this molecule and that molecule. He gathered it all together, ran it through these computer systems that can verify if this particular compound is activating that gene. And then once he had confirmation, that's when he made the first product. And lo and behold, it worked, where now you can take in these pills, and the compounds that are activating your gene are released. It goes to all the different cells and pings that specific part of the DNA for building muscle. And right there in that same region, this gene set is the genes for certain parts of making energy and also certain neurotransmission. And so they're all getting activated at once. And that's why it works. And so when people are young, 20 years old, 25 years old, their DNA is being expressed or exposed frequently. And this is how you're able to build muscle much easier when you're younger. And essentially, Phoenix, people are dying at the rate that they are losing muscle, and also at the rate that they're burning themselves up from oxidative stress. And so this task, this project of coming up with a pill that would help people have the ability to gain their muscle weight back that they lost from aging and actually increase it, like I have. I have more muscle now than I had when I was a 20-year-old athlete.
Really?
And so you can actually increase it and hold it there. And this is huge, because if you put in any type of a search on the internet, particularly on YouTube, if you use the words muscle wasting or sarcopenia, you're going to find many, many, many podcasts on this topic. It's a big news topic right now, because the research has shown how important that it really is. And so this was a major, major discovery on the part of Eric Kurtz. And you can only buy MyoTrol in one place. That's from our company, Boomers Forever Young. He had opportunity to consider who he wanted to be his business associate, who would be able to educate people about his product and be able to distribute it in a timely fashion, invest in it, get a good stock of the product in hand, so that anybody that wants it will have enough so that they can get it. And so we did all that, and here's where we are now. We're at the point now where anyone who's listening to this program, we have enough product for you to get it.
Very good. Um, you know, the fact that you guys sold out in 14 hours, the first batch, that's pretty amazing. And so I'm sure the inventor there, Mr. Kurtz, must have been very surprised and happy to see that. But, we're talking about muscle gain and everything, and the product is working. It's proven to work. It's been vetted. It's going through. I'm using it. I feel it. And, I'm looking forward to restoring a lot of what I had when I was younger. And I tell you what, I can feel it already. Like I said, I'm increasing my reps and increasing weight, and feeling really good doing it all with less fatigue. So basically what we're talking about here, everybody, is in the title, the more gain. And this is how you get more gain. But there's a little more to that, other factors to the gain that Bob can tell us about. But I'm pretty sure after we transition to the more gain part right here, Bob's going to tell us about the less pain and how that comes in. Because it's usually, like I said, the old saying, no pain, no gain. Well, it doesn't have to be that way, So anyway, let's continue on, Bob, about the gain part. Is there anything else that we factor into this? I mean, just all we need is the MyoTrol, or is there anything else we should be taking with us? I know the answer to that rhetorical question, but for our listeners. So go for it.
Yeah, so there's two other things to this because of the whole way that a human body works with in regard to movement. So movement kind of starts in our brain where we have an idea that we need to get up and go do something. And then you have to translate from the idea to actual motion. And there's a brain chemical called BDNF, brain derived nootropic factor. And that acts as this transition to the actual movement. Now, again, as people get older, they have less of this, and so they have less motivation, and people feel less like exercising and getting up and running around and playing basketball and doing things when they get older. Good news is that MyoTrol stimulates the production of BDNF, and you end up with more of it. And so your motivation level increases substantially, and you don't find yourself sitting on the couch going, yeah, I should go and take a walk, but I'm going to sit here anyway and watch TV. Right? And so that BDNF, that boost of BDNF, is what really helps with the motivation side of it. And it also helps with focus and concentration. So a lot of people are reporting getting a lot more things done in a day. And we're getting many people talking about that. The other thing that we know happens is something we weren't aware of the potential benefit until after MyoTrol came out, which is the increase in a hormone that's called irisin, IRISIN. And irisin does a number of different things. And one of the places where it's concentrated is in your cerebral spinal fluid. And we knew that that was happening, but what we didn't know is that there was a correlation between a low level of irisin and Alzheimer's disease. And a study came out that was right about a month ago showing that people with Alzheimer's disease have very low level of irisin. And the scientists didn't know if what that means is that as people's irisin goes down, their chance for Alzheimer's goes up, or if something else was causing the Alzheimer's and it was causing the irisin to drop. But they made this very definitive association. And we knew that irisin would rise in people when they took MyoTrol. And part of it is that irisin is produced by your body in response to movement and contracting your muscles. So the more you exercise, the more irisin you're going to produce. And there's always been a known association related to Alzheimer's and exercise, meaning the more exercise people did, the less chance they had of getting Alzheimer's disease. And we may now have this missing bridge component of irisin that seems like it may be, very critical. So those were two other things regarding MyoTrol. And in regard to what else should you take? Well, you also need a fuel supply. So when a human body makes muscle, the end point is the actual synthesis of the proteins. And in order to make a protein, you have to have building blocks. And the building blocks are amino acids, and metabolic enzymes are kind of like the tools in the glue. And so if you were going to make a chair, for example, you would have to have the pieces of wood, and then you'd have to have some glue and some nails or screws or doweling, however you're going to put this chair together. And when you make protein, it's the same thing. So there's a genetic code for how the protein will get made, how many of which amino acid in which configuration. And then you have these enzymes called metabolic enzymes that come and act as the glue and the nails. And then there are certain other compounds like vitamin C that also help to create this synthesis, this creation of the protein from the code. And then it's that protein that is what helps to actually build muscle tissue. And so you need to have those metabolic enzymes and you need to have the amino acids. And that is why we give people our Gladiator barley. You have plenty of amino acids in Gladiator barley, and you have about 4,000 different metabolic enzymes. That is more than enough enzymes, more than enough amino acids to build muscle, as long as you are able to stimulate the genome to release the code for the assembly of those proteins. And so people that use our Gladiator barley product with the MyoTrol are the ones that do the best. So what I do is I take mine in the morning. I take a scoop of the Gladiator barley, and then at nighttime I take another half a scoop just before I go to bed, mixed in water. And I think it's the combination of those two things that are allowing me now to have this renaissance of muscle building and focus and concentration, in what I'm getting close to being middle age now. Only about, it seems like about 17 more years, and I'll be 85 years old at that point, which is the beginning of middle age for people that are associated with Boomers Forever Young.
Very cool. Very true. Interesting thing. We were talking before about gains, and you're talking about all the gains that you're making. I'm very impressed. It's very good. And, I was talking to everyone about taping, how I tape my arms. And that's important. If you are trying to make muscle gains and you're working on this and following, what Bob, recommends and what he has, what he just laid out for us, and you're doing that, you're going to have two things happen. You're going to, of course, be losing weight if you're watching your caloric intake properly and what you eat, carbs, etc. And you're going to lose weight, but you're going to gain muscle, and muscle weighs more than fat. And so you might find yourself being kind of discouraged at your weight loss if you're trying to get in really good shape. But that's the reason it's important to tape yourself, because you'll be putting on muscle. And as you put on muscle, you'll be able to calculate and keep a record of it. And what I do is I tape out once a week. I weigh and tape out once a week. I don't get on the scale every day because there's too much fluctuation. And I always at the same time, I usually, when I roll out of bed after I work out on a Friday, before I shower, haven't had anything to eat other than a cup of coffee, and that's when I weigh and tape myself, even before I shower. And I write it down. Write it down is so important. Now, I was talking before, I was curious while you were talking, Bob. I retaped my arms just to make sure because I haven't taped in about a week. Yeah, I'm like 14 and 3/4 right now. And if people wonder what that is, I actually looked it up. It says, considering the average arm size is just below 14 inches in men, and most of the bodybuilding, wrestling, and MMA stars fit within the 18 to 24 age range, 15 to 17-inch arms are a good goal. And 17 arms are considered very big and aren't even very common in most gyms. And so, when I was younger, Bob, I had 16-inch biceps. So I'm like a quarter inch away from my 15. And, like I said, I like to hit 17. I've been there before. But just my regular working out, and when I was in the military, 16 was what I generally sported around and what I had. So, that's my goal, too, to get back to the way I was when I was younger, with the same muscle mass, which would be pretty impressive for me. And my chest, I've got a goal for that. But anyway, it's important to tape. everyone to measure. Take a measurement, learn how to do it, where to do it, proper do it, and write it down. Keep a log of this stuff, because again, in rebuilding yourself or rejuvenating or keeping yourself well, you want to take very cautious, not cautious, but careful observation to really see the gains that you're making or not making and adjust as needed. And sometimes you do plateau, like Bob talked about, and you have to kind of work through that. But it is important to tape so you can see what gains you are making, and also help you understand if you aren't, it appears you aren't losing weight as you thought you should, even though your waist is getting smaller. That's important. You want to tape, if you're a man, your biceps. I do my neck also, my chest, and my waist. That's what I tape. If you want to, you can tape your thighs and all that. But it's very important. Women tape a little bit differently, but I thought I'd throw that in there for everybody, for everyone's information. So that's the gain part, okay? That's how to make the gains with the Boomers products and with the MyoTrol and all of that. And suggestions before we go into the less pain and the reason for that and how to do that, Bob. Anything else to add to the gaining part?
Well, just if people want to do something that is highly effective and easy to do, that's an exercise, just do simple step ups. So have something that you can step up onto that's maybe 6 to 10 inches high to start with, and then increase it from there. And the way you want to do it is just step up with 1 foot onto this box or plank or whatever it is you're going to use, and do it quickly, meaning push yourself quickly up. But then when you come down off of the box, go 3 times slower. So go up for the count of 1 and down for the count of 3. And just do as many as you can, and then switch legs, do that again. And then as time goes by, you can increase the repetitions and increase the height of the step up. These are really effective exercises for improving numerous different muscles in your legs, and maintaining muscle in your legs is really, really important. There's a direct connection of the muscle in your legs to your brain, and your capability of cognitive function is dependent to a large part on the veracity of the muscles that are in your legs. And lots of researchers have been talking about the best way to exercise. And there's been this whole thing, Phoenix, where lots of different podcasters have been bringing experts from university, studies onto their podcasts to talk about, here's the best way to do this, to do this, to do this. And now they've all been watching each other, learning from each other. And a couple of them have kind of changed their mind and changed the direction of their research to say, what really is the best thing to do? And kind of like a synthesized consensus that came out of this over the last couple of years was this exercise of stepping up onto a box, a chair, whatever height it is that you're going to step onto. And they've been able to document very scientifically how beneficial it is to do this type of a leg exercise.
That's important. And I was thinking while you're explaining that, Bob, it doesn't matter how, because we're sitting there talking about going to the gym, and doing this and doing that. You don't have to be, someone who goes to the gym or lifting weights. That's why, the exercise bands, and like Bob said, they're all important. Even if you have been basically sedentary for quite some time, easy exercises. Any exercise is good exercise. You're talking about the legs, Bob. For some reason, all my life, I've always enjoyed calf raises or like toe raises, if you will. And that's done. Bob knows what I'm talking about, but you can easily do it on a stair, like the first stair. And if you can touch a wall beside you on both sides, and just basically let your toes be on the stair, and then let your heels go down, and then stand on your toes and then down, and you're exercising your calves. For some reason, Bob, ever since I was a teenager till today, I love that exercise. It makes me feel so good. I've always loved
Yeah.
doing calf raises, and it was a natural thing with my what they call the heart in the calf. I had that just when I was a kid, and I've maintained it my whole life. But for some reason, it always makes me feel so good, and I never knew there was a brain leg connection. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
made me think of that. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So people can do this, Phoenix. We made this section for our website when we got the MyoTrol. And so if people are on our website and you go to the section called podcasts and blog and you click that, there's about 7 choices underneath that. Click on the one that says Physical Activity Center. And when you get there, what you're going to find is a number of different podcasts, some of the ones I was mentioning, and also an interview with Eric Kurtz. And you'll be able to see the bottle of Myotrol. You'll see this man with a blue shirt and gray hair sitting next to it. And this is an interview with the creator of Myotrol, the scientist. And you can watch that. You can also watch podcasts. There's a podcast here called Grow Bigger, Stronger Muscles, The Science of Muscle Growth with Dr. Huberman. There's one called Is It Possible to Build Muscle Without Weights? And on and on. And then there's also guides. There is a physical activity tracker that you can print out for right here from the site. And there's numerous different wall charts that are how to build muscle without using weights. So there's, a pre-workout routine teaching you how to do a little stretching, different types of calisthenics, how to use stretch band, how to use, just basic sitting exercises and that kind of thing. And really everything that you need to get started to, put your muscle back together to the way that it was before is all right here. There's a video of a lady who's been taking Myotrol talking about her journey of what happened over the course of a couple of months with a video of her lifting weights. And you can see all of that right there.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, so the other thing is, Phoenix, you were saying about the no pain part of it.
Yeah, the less
And
we named it less pain, more gain. So yeah, let's get in. How does less pain come into all of this?
so less pain is primarily an aspect of inflammation, meaning that when people do exercise, especially if they're not used to it, the next day their body's going to be inflamed because you've broken down the muscle, you're producing cytokines, and you're producing extra superoxide, etc. And it can create pain that is something that people would want to avoid. It's a reason why they wouldn't exercise. Okay? And this came about, I started thinking about this as a combination with Myotrol when I read this study that was done by the scientists that wanted to see what would happen if they were to measure people's health and wellness and base it on how many trees were in the neighborhood where they lived. And they had this readiness to believe that if there's more trees in a neighborhood, the people would be healthier. And so they did this study with 750 people, and they drew their blood and put them through various tests and got a baseline. And then they proceeded to plant 10,000 trees in this neighborhood. And And then over the course of 3 years, they measured more, they did more blood tests and oxygen uptake tests and various things. And, um, and we're doing this study. They used as the main biomarker as to somebody's health was a blood test that they call C-reactive protein. And we've talked about this before. And C-reactive protein, or CRP, is an enzyme produced in your liver in reaction to inflammation in your body. And so if you can measure how much CRP is in your bloodstream, you can tell how much inflammation you have. And the the life insurance companies use this as the main biomarker as to how fast you are aging, and use it as a predictor of when you're going to die. So they know from your height, your weight, your body mass index, your circumference of your waist, and other measurements and blood work. They can tell how much muscle you have at what age, and they know how fast you're going to lose it and how fast you're going to deteriorate based on this marker called C-reactive protein. And in the study with the trees, as people lived in this neighborhood with more and more trees, their C-reactive protein started to go down. And by the end of the 3 years, it had dropped 13%. And they thought that this was really phenomenal. So C-reactive protein, the average person, when they get their blood test done, the number that they're given is on average a 3. So if you have higher than average inflammation, you might be a 4. If you have lower than average, it might be a 2. In this case, the trees made it come down to 2.7. And so why would trees reduce your inflammation? And in the study, they said that they didn't really know. They weren't able to put their finger on why. They just knew that it did. And so some of the possible reasons are that they listed was, number one, more trees removes more toxins from the air. And air pollution is a really big problem in most of the world, in the United States for certain. And people do live less long in areas that have more air pollution. So they thought maybe less air pollution, less inflammation. And then they started thinking again, and they said that people were reporting less stress as a result of having more trees. And they're like, okay, so people kind of want to go outside more because it's not a concrete jungle and there's beautiful trees to see and walk around and it's pleasant. And so their stress was being reduced, which we know will decrease inflammation as well. And so they had various hypotheses on why this might have happened. I was talking to you, Phoenix, about this, and I said, it's so interesting that they would think it was phenomenal to drop their C-reactive protein from 3 down to 2.7, when we know that when people use our Gladiator barley and they use our Boomer Boost product together with it, it has a potentiating effect, and that number would go down by another factor of 10, meaning you would not be at 2.7, you would be at 0.27, 10 times lower. And so, in fact, that's the exact number that Larry Dodlin, who's the co-founder of Boomers Forever Young, that's the exact number his C-reactive protein went down to when he started using barley and Boomer Boost. It went down to 0.27.
Amazing.
And the insurance company, based on that number and the size of his waist and the amount of muscle that he had after 6 months of using Boomer Boost and barley and exercising, they thought that at the age of about 75 when he got this test done. That's when they thought that he was around 33 years old. And
I love that story. That's a
yeah,
great story. Oh
yeah.
man.
And Larry was with me today, out and about. We went over to a place which was, a building he had sold a little while ago, and the people there made it into this anti-aging center. Beautiful, beautiful place where they do injections and stem cells and all kinds of stuff. They have a medical director, et cetera, et cetera. And we went over to see that center and discuss, anti-aging issues with the owner of this center. And he's out and about. He's in the office next to me. He's going to be 79 now, coming up at Christmas time. And he's still, helping to run Boomers Forever Young. He's still running his real estate company, still helps to run a CPA firm, and he's right on top of it. Um, so this is the story about the trees is a good one. People obviously it was showing a great result, and they're hoping that the study will inspire more city planners, city councils to plant more trees, leave more green space, et cetera, et cetera. And that'll all be great. I can tell you that a reduction of 13% in your C-reactive protein is not going to impress the life insurance company one little bit. They're not going to alter the amount of time that you're going to live extra, except by maybe a couple of months. The insurance companies know when you're going to die within 3 months, and at almost any age that they test you. And at the best, you might add a couple of months to your life if you were to plant more trees. On the other hand, taking in compounds by mouth like superoxide dismutase and trimethylglycine and glutathione and proanthocyanins, this is proven to reduce your CRP, not not by 10%, but by a factor of 10 by 10 times.
Amazing. And
And so
therefore,
this is the
and there,
less this is the less pain, right?
yes,
Because
exactly.
the lower your inflammation, the less issues you're going to have with pain all over your body, whether you're exercising or not. Most pain is caused by inflammation, but not only that, Phoenix, most disease is caused by inflammation.
Oh,
We
yes.
know that heart disease, cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's disease are all precipitated by high inflammation. And in the case of heart disease, the inflammation is oxidizing your cholesterol and making it into the super bad cholesterol. Cancer is from your cells getting inflamed. Strokes is caused by inflammation in your arteries, and from the inflammation in your carotid artery that's causing these plaques. Alzheimer's disease, the formation of tau proteins, is precipitated by inflammation. And even chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the concussion disease, it's becoming so common, only manifests when people have high inflammation. If you have low inflammation, you can get these concussions and you will not end up with CTE. So these are the two main things here. If you want more gain, this is put on more muscle, produce more irisin, produce more BDNF, get back to where you were when you were in your 20s from that physical standpoint. And then with the less pain aspect, reduce your inflammation. And I can tell you this, there are very few, if any, people in their 20s or 30s that have a C-reactive protein of 0.27 or zero point 0.2. We have one person whose C-reactive protein went below the threshold of what they could measure it. His went
Oh,
below 0.1.
oh, wow. That's
And
cool.
so you didn't have people in their 20s that were like that. They had inflammation at the level of a 3 constantly throughout their life. And um, and and then when they got to be about 50 years old, it would start to go up even more beyond the 3 level. And this is very important to know, because now here in 2024, we have the capability to help people reduce their inflammation, slow their rate of burn way, 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 way down, and increase their rate of gaining muscle, so they don't die from muscle wasting, they don't die from inflammation. And we don't know yet how long people are going to live that will have used these types of products for 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80 years. And we don't know in the future what's going to happen to people that have almost zero inflammation and unlimited capacity to gain muscle. But at an anti-aging company like Boomers Forever Young, that's what we investigate. That's what we participate in. It's what we produce and what we inform people about, and then actually distribute the products that actually do these things in real time here in 2024. It's no joke. It's the real thing that's now happened. And I didn't invent any of these, Phoenix. Other people invented them that are way more advanced than I am in the world of science. Were these inventors that dedicated their lives to things like this, the same way, Alexander Graham Bell, created the light bulb, the phonograph, the first rechargeable battery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are genius scientists in the field of life science that are working to help to extend the health span and possibly the lifespan of human beings. And Boomers Forever Young is charged with presenting the information on programs like the Patriot Health Report, and making sure that it gets into people's hands to the best of our ability.
Very cool. Well, there you go, everyone. Less pain, more gain. Now you know what the title means and full explanation. Before we roll out of here, we're rolling up on the end of the hour, Bob. I want to tell everyone, if you want more information, you can go to patriotintelreport.com. That's patriotintelreport.com. Click on the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left-hand side of the page. It'll take you right to Bob's site. But before we roll out of here, a couple things, Bob. Number one, give us your final thoughts and the wisdom you want to leave us with, and also all the details. Give us all your digits, how to contact you, phone numbers, if people want to come visit, or any other information you want to share with us on how to find out more about this before we roll out. And again, then your closing comments and final words of wisdom.
Yeah, so first off, if you want to call us, we're open Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 Eastern Time. And you can call us at 800-861-4609. If you want to see us, if you want to come and visit, we're on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida, halfway between the beach and downtown, 5401 Central Avenue. Call ahead if you're going to come. We have a person driving all the way from Miami to visit us next week, a 4-hour drive away, and people are welcome to come. Call ahead, and I'll make sure I'm here to meet up with you. And again, go to patriotintelreport.com. On that left-hand side, you'll see a box that looks like a lady with her arms outstretched in a blue lightning storm. Click that, and you'll land on our site. And this is the other thing, Phoenix, I didn't get a chance to say, but there's been a lot of work done at the Shopify company, which is where our website is hosted on Shopify, and also with my own IT people. And we've made things even more easy than they've ever been for people to get the best possible price on our products. And so when you make your way to our site, you're going to have an option to click that says subscribe and save 10% off. And if you do that, it will take you to the page and you'll fill in your information, and this will give you that constant discount. And then 3 days prior to your next shipment, you'll receive an email and a text message that says, hey, your shipment's going to go out in a few days. Do you need to change anything? If so, click here. So you click, and then it gives you the options to click on if you want to add something, subtract something, if you need to pause it, change the date, that type of thing. And then also, people make rewards points and they build up really fast, Phoenix. When they buy products, when it's their birthday, we give these rewards points. And the new system, when you're on this auto ship page, is there's a slider that shows you how many points you have and how much it's worth. And you can actually move that slider with your mouse or your finger if you're on your cell phone, and you can choose exactly how many points that you want to use towards that purchase, so you get a further discount even off of that 10%. And it can add up over time. And this is all brand new, this new system that makes it really easy for people to execute. This has just been put in place, and we're watching it very carefully and getting feedback from our customers if there's any way to make it even better.
Very cool.
And so I would just say, lastly, Phoenix, this is, I mean, we've said this before, but it seems like maybe it's even getting more stressful these days. But we've got an election coming up in a couple of months. There's a lot going on in the news. There's, court dates coming up. There's also announcements by the Federal Reserve Board coming up that are all creating a tremendous amount of stress. And stress can really catabolize your body. You can really break yourself down with stress to a point where you can be very susceptible to illness. And we don't want that. We want the people that are listening to the Patriot Health Report, to Midnight Overwatch, to be the strong people, to have the strong stuff that helps keep them strong, and keep your inflammation down, even in the midst of discordant energy, which can cause a lot of stress. You want to be able to keep your inflammation down and your strength up. This way, you're best equipped to be one of the warriors for the light, a great lion of God. You don't want to be debilitated and shrink away from this discordant energy. You better to powerfully parry it out of the way and spread your arms open to what is good and where the light is, and have all the confidence and strength that you need to be able to surf your way through these turbulent waves and end up on the other side victorious.
Now, I would agree 100% with that, and those were some very good words of wisdom, Bob. I really appreciate it. Sir, again, a lot of information. You always blow my mind with it, and I always learn something new. Very, very good. And everyone, again, be sure and check out all the numbers and information that Bob gave you. If you gained anything from this program, like, share, and subscribe. Send it to others who may want to hear it or read it. Give them the link. Get it out there, and it helps helps spread this good news, which it truly is. I mean, you do not have to be in pain, and you can make gains. Yeah, less pain, more gain, and to be the best that you can be for those around you, for yourself and those around you. It's very important. Bob, again, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all the stuff with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Phoenix. Pleasure was mine. I'll look forward to our next time.
Very good. So will I. That's it, everyone, for this week's Patriot Health Report. Again, remember, everyone, without your health, you have nothing. Doesn't matter where you live, what you own, or what position you hold. If you do not have your health, it doesn't matter. So be the best you can be as healthy as you can be, again, for yourself and for those whom you love. Until the next Patriot Health Report, everyone, God bless, be well, and Phoenix and Bob out.